Happy Tuesday. My tip today is a commonly used acronym here in commercial real estate that usually will get thrown around once we've identified a property that a tenant likes and start to talk about the specifics as far as lease terms go, and that is an LOI, or a letter of intent. This is a non-legally binding document that we use to outline all of the terms of a lease and the back and forth between the landlord and the tenant. And you'll see they look a little differently depending on the type of property or the landlord that you're working with. Some national tenants and retailers will have their own form that they like to use. Here locally we have just a 2-3 page form that we use that goes through and outlines everything that we want to have down on paper before we take the time to draft an official lease. So this will include things like the lease term, which is the length of the lease, the rents that'll be paid, and a schedule for that if there's any increases over the life of the lease, or a free rent period up front, anything like that. Any improvements that'll be done, either that the landlord will be paying for and performing for the tenant and to induce them into the lease, or improvements that the tenant plans to do that the landlord needs to sign off on, either because they're unique to that use or structural or anything like that. You'll see all these things go into the document and be pre-negotiated and agreed to before we go to lease. And the reason that's important is because this allows for us to then spend the time, money, and resources on drafting a lease when we have really 90% of the important items agreed to and already on paper. The fact that it's a non-legally binding document is also important because it allows for just that opportunity to negotiate in good faith ahead of really signing on the dotted line and being committed to a 3, 5, 7, 10-year lease term, and making sure that we enter into that type of a long-term relationship with everything up front and everybody happy with the results. So again, that's my tip for today. It's an LOI, or a letter of intent. And if you have other questions or want to look at putting one together for any of our properties, just let me know.